Most MSPs, nearly all MSPs, I think, are aware that it's happening and they need to be on that journey. But reality bites. If they don't get this, get on this journey and get at least somewhere to doing whatever they're going to do, they will be left behind. That's happened over history, obviously, with MSPs. Telecoms and websites. And I was around. I was an MSP when cloud is going to make us all redundant. AI is ubiquitous. It's going to have to run quickly, which is a threat and an opportunity in itself. I think we're going to see this flip quite quickly.
Pax8 come out with the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook. Now, obviously your white paper has really kind of started the wheels in motion for everyone.
And obviously the white paper you're talking is Scott Chasen, our CEO's inflection point.
Now, this white paper, I think, is probably the most cited paper that I've seen in our industry. This is obviously where the industry's going. This is where AI is going. Here's where MSPs are going to sit in it. But you didn't shy away from, again, teaching people how MSPs are going to monetize AI in the new world. How do you monetize the agents themselves? How do you monetize the project work? How do you create reoccurring revenue? I spend pretty much all day, every day speaking to MSPs, and people kept telling me about the Mostyn Thomas Cybersecurity Masterclass.
My title is Senior Director of Security for EMEA in the Academy Department, Pax8.
It's almost like a cult-like following with Pax8. Now, I'd love to think it's the fact that you have like Fatboy Slim and Snoop Dogg at your events and stuff like that, but it's something really tangible. Why do you think that there is so much love for Pax8?
Above all, we're a community. It's a business, but we've built a community.
We have an absolute treat here today. So we have Mostyn Thomas from Pax8 with us. Mostyn, thank you ever so much for taking the journey down to visit us today.
My pleasure.
So Mostyn, you and I met, I believe it was beginning of last year at an MSP event in London, but I'd known the name of Mostyn Thomas for maybe 18 months before I actually met you in person. So people on this channel will know I spend pretty much all day, every day speaking to MSPs, and people kept telling me about the Mostyn Thomas Cybersecurity Masterclass. Now, what I gather from what people really enjoyed about this is that not only are you teaching MSPs to add real client value from a cybersecurity perspective, but you're teaching MSPs to monetize cybersecurity in a way that the client enjoys and is palatable for the customer. They know what they're paying for, and for something that's sustainable revenue for the MSP themselves. So I heard this lots of times before I actually met you, so it was a pleasure to finally meet you last year in person. So I'd love to just go through a little bit of that. But the other thing that I would like to really sort of spend some time on today is that people are probably aware, last year, tail end of last year, Pax8 come out with the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook. Now, this white paper, I think, is probably the most cited paper that I've seen in our industry, definitely around AI. It caused a bit of a flurry. Everyone was commenting on it. And I think the reason that it went down so well or created a lot of conversations is just that you guys kind of went really for the jugular, in my opinion. So you went for the jugular in the sense that most of the time when you see these like big brands, they kind of put out something very marketing. It's very sort of 10,000 feet up in the air, trying to be like thought provokers. You guys did the very Pax8 thing and went, right, this is obviously where the industry's going. This is where AI is going. Here's where MSPs are going to sit in it. But you didn't shy away from, again, teaching people how MSPs are going to monetize AI in the new world. And you go into detail things like, how do you monetize the agents themselves? How do you monetize the project work? How do you create reoccurring revenue and reoccurring value? And it's things like understanding the shifts and changes around how you monetize more outcomes as well. So I think that you guys, it certainly wasn't just, I'm sure your marketing department was involved in it, but you can tell that like the top team was sort of spent a lot of time on that. So myself and the team have gone through, I've got some questions that we can go through on the paper, if that's all right. But if you don't mind, can you just start off, just give people a view of what it is that you do for Pax8 and why is it that people love these cybersecurity masterclasses, sir?
Okay, my title is Senior Director of Security for EMEA. in the academy department at Pax8, and that sounds very grand. And I don't do anything internally. People quite often ask me, I do nothing about internal security at all, which is good. I talk to partners, everything for our partners, whatever, around security. So that might be around some vendors, it might be around theory, it might be around pain points they've got in certain areas. How can we help? Obviously, masterclasses that you mentioned. Webinars, anything whatsoever to try and drive that forward throughout the business. So, and I've got a team. It's not just me. And our academy team is excellent. And I would say that anyway. But throughout the industry, they are well renowned at being.
I've heard.
So that's where I live and that's what I do. And the masterclass obviously is not just delivered by me. I wrote it, most of it, and deliver most of it. But again, there's a whole team that make that a success and deliver it. But why do I think it's that much of a success? Well, I think what we did was build it with a partner lens. We built it thinking I was basically a partner. I was still an MSP at that point as well when I actually wrote this for Pax8 and then came on full time and I delivered it. But still really a partner at heart, if you know what I mean. So it was really, first of all, built that way with no vendor focus as such. They're in there somewhere, but excuse me, but really with a partner lens and with a partner focus on that sort of thing. We go through all kinds of theory. I'm not going to give anything away because you haven't been. All kinds of theory, and if anyone's listening who's been on it, they'll know. We go through theory and how to do things and history of hacking and all kinds of other bits and pieces, right the way through to risk and how to talk to a board properly. And then we get into some product and some other bits and pieces and how to partner with people and how to deal with all kinds of different things. So there's a bit for everyone. We normally have 20, 25 people in the room. And a key thing about that is we normally, nearly everyone meets the night before and we have a meal, we provide a meal. And we'll have
Interesting.
So we build that community.
Everyone's relaxed and yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And in here in IT, most of us are pretty, shy, normally not extroverted, we're introverted people, wherever. But if you've met someone, if it's only one or two people the night before, you've already got a friend in the room. You probably sit next to them, and then you're gonna do that. So we build that, and I'm always really keen to say early in the day, I am probably going to learn as much from today as you are. And that's not just a line. That is actually...
No, I get it.
So the partners themselves are just amazing. They share so much. They've got ideas. They've got things that didn't work, which is probably more valuable than things that did work. So absolutely the day becomes... an information exchange as well as just, it's not just a presentation. It's not like that at all. I get the sales team in for a little bit. I get some of our solution technical consultants in who really know their stuff about, different vendors and Microsoft and what have you. So you get a bit of everything. A masterclass, and I think the fact that people have paired up and done things, and I see them at other events.
Makes it more of an experience.
It makes it more of an experience, but we're all about building that community. One of the key pillars of Pax8 is about community, and it's very much like that. It's a very concentrated day. It's full on. Everyone is completely drained at the end of it. But I think that's normally a good sign of a good event. And we've had great success, and I must say we indeed copied that as well for our data and AI and our sales masterclass.
So I have heard that this has now sort of gone into sort of other masterclasses as well. Can you just do just a little bit on that for me if you can?
Yes. Well, my colleague Andy Redman is our data and AI director, and a couple of years, it must be nearly 2 years ago now, we decided there was going to be a big need for this because we knew what was coming. And we've built the Data and AI Masterclass, which is equally as successful, packed out, great reviews. Andy's done a great job and taken it to the next level. You can imagine really interesting. He's been in AI for 10 years, so maybe more than 10. So he was doing AI when no one knew what it meant, really.
Okay.
So he can take you back to all kinds of different, AI models that recognize birds, and that's all it does. So it's
a cat model was the first. We was all excited about cat, wasn't we?
So he takes you through all those sort of things. So even the whole the whole template of the Masterclass works well when someone builds it and does it again. And then since then, my other colleague, Lamar Thorne, who's an incredible sales and trainer and solution consultant, has built the Sales Masterclass. But that was really around teaching technical people to sell solutions like cybersecurity, like data and AI, which of course is going to be extremely important in the coming years. And she's taken it to a whole other level.
Interesting.
Particularly when you think technical people and business owners quite often won't sit for 6 or 7 hours and learn sales techniques and how to do it. Incredible. She's doing an incredible job. So I'm super proud in the reflected glory of me of at least starting something and they've taken it.
Because I think that's what I heard is that it's not again. We've all been to seminars and you get stuff out of them, but they're not always like the most riveting. People kind of it feels like it's a whole experience rather than just a seminar. So interesting. Well, it sounds like there's 3 that I need to get myself on now. So thank you for that. So probably one of the questions we'd like to start with is, we know that the whole world is changing their business models to suit AI. How do you think this is going at an MSP level? Obviously, your white paper has really kind of started the wheels in motion for everyone. But how do you think it's going so far in the MSP space?
Okay, good question. And obviously the white paper you're talking is Scott Chasen, our CEO's inflection point paper there. And his follow-up was the MIP Playbook. And I think it's early days. And I think that some of the more forward-thinking MSPs, should we say, still are MSPs, I get, are adopting and automating and building the early stages of an MIP journey, as it were, following some of the wisdom that Scott put down on in the inflection point there. And we're seeing this already, and we've already had a couple of video interviews with some of our leading MSPs, or MIPs, should I say, about how they're doing it and what they're doing it. But I do think it's early days, and I think that's green shoots, as it were, amongst what's going on. Most MSPs, nearly all MSPs, I think, are aware that it's happening, and they need to be on that journey. But reality bites. There's lots of reasons why they haven't. Mainly most MSPs haven't got a spare 5 minutes in the day anyway. So that's part of the problem. But I think MSPs more than anyone are so acutely aware that if they don't get this, get on this journey and get at least somewhere to doing whatever they're going to do, they will be left behind, or they will get taken over by maybe a new firm who's doing that. And that's happened over history, obviously, with MSPs. With telecoms and managed print and websites and cloud itself. So I think that's where we're at. We're at early days, but very much because AI is a ubiquitous technology. It's going to have to run quickly because the clients, the end customers, will drive this so quickly because they're adopting it so quickly themselves in their daily life. So I think we're going to see this flip quite quickly. Maybe if we come back, maybe I'll come back, you'll invite me back in maybe 6 or 9 months. It will be, maybe I'm saying 50% of guys are now really on board with this and really going forward, and maybe more. But I think that's where we're at.
Because I'm lucky enough to run a fairly decent-sized MSP in the UK, and we're doing pretty much everything that we can and enjoying some of the fruits of that labour. And I'm speaking to a lot of MSPs that are automating everything at the moment and using things like NAN and Rewst and just really sort of leaning into this for their own operations and for their customers as well. Where do you see the smaller MSPs? So I'm very much aware with RoboShadow, a lot of mama and papa shops are supported by smaller MSPs. Where do you feel the challenges might lie for smaller MSPs, and how do you think the smaller MSP adoption's going?
I think the challenge would be that people go direct. Those end users they go direct and either do it themselves or someone else does it for them. Or a larger MSP sails in and does that, who's got a development team or whatever. Yes. But as ever with an MSP, if they're prepared to take on board and they pivot and they learn and adapt, I think potentially they can potentially be much more agile. So if they've got 4 people in their team, if 2 really concentrate on this and build something really cool that can do really good things for their micro type customers, they can really get ahead, and maybe they'll double the size of their business because it's so much easier to scale when you've got automation, and maybe when you move to a digital workforce. So 4 people maybe will punch like 40 people.
Interesting. Yes. So it's and again, no doubt this is what your kind of masterclasses go into around AI. It's just it could be a little bit of a leveler because at the end of the day, it's not. It's more of a intelligent play, not always a cash injection play, and just might allow the smaller MSPs to be able to kind of leap ahead a bit.
If you look at it in a positive way, you've just described, yes, get along to one of Andy's data and AI masterclasses, because he can show you a way where this sort of thing is possible. It's really around intelligence and data and how you can make that work for you, rather, like you say, than in the old days it was how much money can I loan in order to make this happen. Now you can build it in your bedroom. If you know what I mean, which is a threat and an opportunity in itself. But absolutely, micro MSPs could be the next enterprise.
Interesting. And then sort of one of the points that we're seeing more and more become more and more prevalent is that we are seeing more MSPs using things like Microsoft Sentinel to sort of build their own sort of SOC and sort of SIEM kind of capabilities. We know within our MSP it's actually helping us to kind of sell a little bit more as well, to kind of do that all in-house. Now, Microsoft are becoming quite smart, I think. They're sort of, not only they bring in Sentinel into the Defender portal, I know it's all still a bit new at the moment, but they're also going to be using some of the kind of Copilot automation to be able to do some of those SORG, like the fix-it type capabilities as well. Where do you think Microsoft's kind of going to end up sort of in all of the mix here as well?
Well, I wish I knew exactly.
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. but I think we can see and have a bit of a guess. And as we're talking, the E7 platform, offering has just been announced, and that's really describing what selling what you're describing there, really, and the fact that they're selling a SKU there that has got, like say, Copilot, Defender, has also got their new M365 agent management in there as well, which takes it to a whole other level. So you're going to be managing the security and compliance of agents, as well as Intune, as well as Defender and the SOC piece. So by releasing that, that's, I think, the direction they're looking in. And I will absolutely agree with you. I think the sort of democratization of SOC is definitely happening. We've had lots of suppliers when it came down from enterprise down to sort of larger MSPs. But now I think any MSP, those micro MSPs can run a perfectly reasonable SOC that's manageable, that Copilot can help run as well, that we can automate, or maybe deal with agents. Maybe I'm jumping ahead there a little bit, but I think that's basically where we are. So coming back to that mom and pop shop, they can be supplying SOC services, no problem.
Definitely, when we talk about what we did in 3GI to bring SOC services in-house, and say sometimes you don't always have to offer 24/7, it can just be during the week when your customers are at work. We definitely feel sort of MSPs leaning into that conversation. And there is a little bit of a worry here that Microsoft is just going to eat everybody's lunch, the ongoing debate. But I think, as we all saw with 365, in my opinion, it kind of created more mess for us to manage and curate on behalf of the customers. And I suspect this will end up being the same with the E7 package as well.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was around. I was an MSP when cloud is going to make us all redundant, basically. I mean, we're not going to sell any more servers, and that was the end of that. But we're sat here today, and MSPs are thriving because there is just so much to do. And I am confident that it will be the same in this new era. We need to pivot like we had to with cloud. I can remember the first time logging on to BPOS and all those different things, on AWS, and like, what are we doing here? How are we ever going to make any money out of this? It was exactly the same conversation we're having now. And I'm like, we'll work it out.
It's the implementation and the management that people.
One thing that MSPs can definitely do is work it out, and how to make a living and how to add value.
Absolutely. So maybe a slight shift change in the sense of, so obviously we've had this SaaS apocalypse kind of share price situation in recent weeks. Vibe coding is becoming really, really good now, and we vibe code tools internally in our MSP just to help us with sort of day-to-day management. Where do you think vibe coding kind of sits in all of this? Would you suggest?
Not my area of expertise, if I'm honest, but having to be, because it's cutting across all disciplines really. I think that can I call it? And I'm not wanting to annoy or upset anyone, but sort of that DIY element of testing and doing with vibe coding and what have you is going to be vital to that whole R&D development as you work with an MSP. So I think absolutely it's got a place. I know you guys spend an awful lot of time doing that, but checking and never putting anything into production that's not you wouldn't have been proud to code yourself. So I think that. Partnering with other companies to help doing that is definitely key for maybe really small MSPs who maybe don't have those skill sets in-house. But again, it's democratization of this. You can test this stuff out, proof of concept yourself, do all that, which would have cost maybe 100,000, 200,000 to get someone to do that for you. You can do it yourself and think this doesn't work or this does work. I'll go and partner with someone now to make an offering that I've built in Vibe Code. So I only see positives to that. Being an age-old tinkerer or whatever you want to call it. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what you can achieve.
It certainly is. I think you're right for the smaller MSP. Certainly could be another sort of leveling factor as well. So I suppose, I think the white paper refers to, or the playbook refers to, how MSPs unlocked for the SME cloud when Amazon and Azure rose to power. Do you think that it's going to be the MIP's job to bring more AI services into the SME market? Do you think it's going to follow that sort of hyperscaler sort of playbook like it did last time?
I think it might do. I think the MIP's job really is going to be more around business process as well. It's going to be, I'll come and identify the problems or help you identify the problems or how we can sort your bottlenecks, issues, whatever in the end user, and then bring it to bear on those rather than just replacing what we did before. So I think the skill sets for an MIP are different because you need to be a little more business analyst. You need to be more that. And many MSPs are already. They just maybe don't realize it. And then that coding bit, which it's getting easier and easier because of the tools. So yes, I do. I agree with you. Absolutely. That's how that's going to work. And I think MIPs are going to be key in that pipeline. Yes, people can go to the end to the hyperscaler direct to the provider. But they don't do that now in businesses.
Understood.
For cloud services, and for a really good reason, because they just want to get on with their work. They don't want to be someone having to sort the tech out. And that's going to be precisely the same. It's the same idea, but delivered in a different way, which is why we need to change. But MSPs are good at change.
Yeah, and I love the way that the playbook sort of references it's kind of just getting people's heads around managing the outcomes as well as the input. And to me, especially within our MSP, when we spend more time interacting at a board or upper level management level, it makes you more sticky. It makes people value you more. And I just think being able to sort of help manage those outcomes and sort of be sort of the distributor of more AI products within the business, I think it just helps that build that longer lasting relationship. I'm not suggesting that as an MSP we're like vending machine repairmen, but there is sometimes a bit of, we've all got clients where we feel like we're Vodafone for them. I think it just allows you to go up that upper echelon as well.
Oh yes, definitely going to help with that whole commoditization, which we've got into right now, haven't we? Some MSPs I know are just feeling like they're basically sales and agents for large corporations. And I think it might break that model. That might be, you can add your own flair and your own ingenuity to what you're doing, and it will make a difference. So, no, I totally agree. And you refer to the articles there. We're very fortunate. We have Scott Chasen, and we have a great team at the top of Pax8 who really think and future gaze as to what's going to happen. And you know, to be fair, it's pretty on track. I mean, it may not, no one can ever predict perfectly, but you know, we are following up on that and going, this is how this is going to work. So yeah, absolutely.
I think you guys are. I think especially how it's been received, you're definitely on the bleeding edge. You're definitely on the right side of the frontier there, in my opinion. So, what do you think? What questions would you say that you get asked most about AI monetization? So, what do you think is the most common concern or the common question that your average MSP will ask you about? How do I monetize this stuff?
Again, I'll qualify this with this is not really my center wheelhouse, as it were. You know, security is, but it's still relevant. And I think the questions that people are asking me and asking my colleagues are, if I'm going to be able to, how is that going to work? And you just alluded to it. Really, it's about outcomes and changing billing or what have you to outcomes is going to be quite a leap, isn't it? From just delivering services. Well, if it didn't work, that's not my problem. To I'm going to bill you for outcomes. If it didn't work, I'm not going to get paid. Is a big difference. So I think that's really, I think, how fairly quickly in the near future, that's how people are going to see AI and agents and whatever. Is like, I'll pay for what it delivers, basically. So I think there's a leap to be had there amongst that. And there's a skill set change there in sales. There's a skill set change there in organization operations, really, around how do I bill around that sort of thing. And other questions I'm getting, well, that's all great, but I haven't really got the skill sets in-house. You know, I haven't got that. Two things around that. One is it's easier now because you're on the same plane as everyone else. Where, you know,
it's more of a level playing field.
You're no longer 10 years behind someone who is a Uber developer because everyone is only probably 6 months behind, if you know what I mean. So if you can make time in your business, you can learn this stuff and you can be right at that cutting edge fairly quickly, as long as you're smart enough, and most MSPs are. Or indeed, same, like I said when I'm in the masterclass, you know, you don't have to be a forensics analyst to be a cybersecurity expert. You can partner with someone to do that. Because it's a particular skill set. And maybe you partner with someone who codes, or maybe you partner with someone who's great at sales, you know, at that outcome-based sales or operations around outcomes. So I think the questions, yes, how's that gonna? How am I gonna make any money at this? Are exactly the same questions we had when how am I gonna make any money at cloud? How am I gonna make any money at this?
At security being the same
security
conversation,
is the
right?
same. Yeah, you're selling a negative, really, aren't you? I'm trying to stop someone breaking in is not an easy sale because there's no ROI on it. Really. There's nothing like that. Having said that, a lot of MSPs have made a great deal of money doing that. So it's perfectly possible, and I think it's perfectly possible. So my answers are not precise right now.
No, I'm with you.
Because this is still being made up, and that's surely the beauty of the whole thing for MSPs.
Absolutely. I'm certainly enjoying that. You know, you've only got LinkedIn. You open LinkedIn, and every day there's something new, there's something happening, and there's someone's coming out with this, that, and the other. So it's definitely exciting times that we're living at the moment. Where do you think that governance plays the part here? So what, like ISO 47001, which is something we're going to go through from a RoboShadow perspective, kind of says, look, you can't vibe code stuff. You can't have, you need to make sure you've got humans in the loop and all of that good stuff. And I think ultimately governance is it's not just another excuse for monetization, but I think it helps us as an MSP and in our MSP and just MSPs in general, just be able to kind of define out that services and an extra value add. So where do you think, I think the Playbook refers to it as like data governance as a service as well. Where do you think that sort of plays out?
I think if I can refer to today, really, I think in ordinary MSP operations and certainly in cybersecurity, data governance, supply chain risk, and what have you, is front and center right now. And it's only right that AI, that's going to go to the heart of a lot of people's operations, how they work, and what have you, is included in that. And I think a lot of governments, particularly in Europe, a lot of governments are very much on this and going, okay, we need to get a handle on this fairly quickly because it's going to get out of hand. We'll have covered data governance around cyber and around other things, and now this is just going to get completely out of control. So my feeling and my observations around that this is not going anywhere. Data governance and compliance around the data for AI is going to get more and more restrictive, or you're going to need to prove what you're doing, hence the non-vibe coding. I guess what they're trying to do there is give a good standard at least, which is precisely, again, if I refer back to cybersecurity, it's the same thing. Let's have some controls in place. Let's agree on some rules to play by, and then we will be able to at least rate people whether they're playing by those rules or not, whether we want to do business with them. So I think we're going to get lots of that. And as ever, same with MSPs right now, who are dealing with NIST 2, Cyber Essentials, CAF, you name it, CIS controls, ISO 27001, getting their customers through that period, making sure they remain compliant, making sure they stay on the right track and what have you, is big business now for that. And it will be probably even bigger business for AI. So getting 47001 or any other standards that might come along, the EU AI Act, all those sort of things, getting through that is a whole industry in itself. So yeah, absolutely.
And again, it does the MSPs that have that more governance relationship with it's more of a high level board conversation, because that's usually something that's either restricting an organisation or it ends up being an enabler by having that cert in place. And they're not always the easiest to achieve. And I think MSPs are sort of getting on that, not bandwagon, but just getting on that element of executing that business. I think we're all waking up to that now. Effectively,
you need to come on our cybersecurity masterclass.
Do you know what? I cannot wait.
We teach you about talking the language of the board.
All three of them that I'm going to get myself signed up to now. So, we're like really lucky to be going into Pax8 in the next couple of weeks. So we're imminent now. So we had customers within Rewst that just said, look, like we really want your product, but we need you to be on Pax8 to get in there. You guys have got this amazing following. And like genuinely you have, I must say, it's almost like a cult-like following with Pax8. Now, I'd love to think it's the fact that you have like Fatboy Slim and Snoop Dogg at your events and stuff like that, but it's something really tangible. Why do you think that there is so much love for Pax8? What I can gather is it's quite a lonely world being an MSP, and especially in these changing worlds, talk about governance, security, and now becoming a managed intelligence provider. What do you think the special sauce is within Pax8? Because you guys keep seeing that you keep ahead of the industry, but why do you think you have such a following as you do?
I think it's, as ever, not just one thing, but, a lot of people come for, one bill. They can get one bill and it makes their operations easy, and, a great choice of skills and education around vendors and what have you. Yeah, great, you can do that, absolutely, and that definitely attracts some people, but I think you're absolutely right. Above all, we're a community. It's a business, but we've built a community. Pax8 are very, very particular in who they recruit. We recruit the best we can. Some of the people I work with are, I can't believe I work with them.
Definitely found that, yeah.
They're just so smart. And we recruit a lot of people like me, ex-MSPs. So we're, we speaking to partners, and we speak their language. We understand. We've walked in their shoes, so that helps too. But you were talking about our Beyond events there.
And I'm really looking forward to the first one in the summer.
It'd be great to welcome you. And the thing about that is, yes, of course, you get a headline act and what have you, but the whole event itself is based around communication, information exchange from us to and people on the stage to the partners. But as ever, like I said, it's like a huge masterclass. It's partner to partner, making those moments for people to do that sort of thing, and it just goes on and on. So that I think is reason why people in Pax8 honestly care. We got people like Rob Ray, who's an industry legend, and will just talk to anyone. Go outside and chit chat with the crowd out there who's having a smoke and whatever. And they are not C-level in the traditional sense.
No, I've found that.
It's not like that. Everyone is approachable. Everyone understands, where people are working with the problems they're having, and everything we try to do is to try and solve those problems for our partners. And that doesn't go unnoticed. So you're bound to build a following.
And that sort of culture, by understanding that Scott, your CEO, is kind of very sort of present. You have manager CEOs and sort of those ones that kind of really like to kind of drive the change. So do you think that culture comes from? Where does that Pax8 culture that we hear so much about, where do you think that sort of comes from?
I think it's come originally from John Street, who started Pax8. He came with that whole disruptor. We want to do things differently. We're going to fix the distribution marketplace and all that sort of thing. But Scott has taken it to another level because he's a technology person. He's not a corporate CEO. I'm sure if he's watching, he's probably not going to like that, but he isn't and that's why partners love it, because they're like, someone just like me, really, you know, who's loves the technology and loves what's capable, but happens to run this huge business as well. So you know, I think you know, you want to work with and take part with people just like you, don't you? And I think that's what we try to aim for, and I think we succeed.
Well, Mostyn, thank you ever so much for spending the time with us today. I'm genuine. So I'm going to be in. I'm going to be Salt Lake City, Pax8 Beyond. I'm really looking forward to Copenhagen as well, because it's one of my favourite cities actually. So really looking forward to it. And I'm actually already arranging to meet up with friends that I've met through Rewst and other MSPs, and people just say it's a really good crack as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So Mostyn, thank you ever so much for taking the time of coming down to the studio today. We really appreciate that. So thank you ever so much for coming to see us, Mostyn.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.